meet probably again, some of you are with us next year when we have the next Southeast Europe Media Forum, the 10th. Some of you will be also tomorrow here during the Commission on Media Policy, where we will present also the third award during these days. It's the Dr. Erhard Busek Award for Better Understanding in Southeast Europe. It will be presented tomorrow. It will be interesting discussion, so those who are invited to that event, you know, it will be here also in Hotel Marriott. And before we have the closing part, I would like to invite Dr. Busek to give a small overview how he sees the situation today in Europe, connected to media, to the future of Europe. Is there any future of Europe, or what will happen with Europe that we know in the next years? Please, Erhard.
Thank you very much, Oliver, for this introduction. Your Excellency, dear friends here out of the region. I think to speak about Europe today and the media within 10 minutes, I think it must be a miracle to make it possible. So you can only listen to headlines. But I want to do one remark. I'm involved in the region for the last 35 years with some knowledge, 25 years in some activities, and it was very interesting for me to listen to you. I want to be outspoken. The media situation has not improved. I was in charge of Southeast European Cooperative Initiative, forget it. Stability Pact for Southeast Europe, forget it. And so it has not improved. That's not your responsibility, it's a general responsibility, and it is mirroring the situation of Europe. That has to be said quite bluntly. I think in this situation you are not alone, you are connected. That's one improvement. I think we are all coming closer. And that's a subject on which I want to look. We are under the auspices of globalization, of crisis, of several crises, of technological development, and. Here I may say I'm a fan of crisis, because crises are a challenge for improvement. I'm always considering that the word crisis is coming from the old Greek language, krino, that means to judge and to decide, and this is a challenge to judge and to decide, and we have to improve if we are able. Now it is said we have a lack of leadership. Everybody is saying so. On the other side, we have some leadership. If I'm looking to Mr. Putin, to Mr. Erdogan, to Mr. Orban, and so, and I think you can expect that this kind of leadership will come up more. I think they will not be the only three. The next developments politically and by democracy are showing in this direction. Why? Because the citizens, I think, have a certain fear that nobody is making decisions, and this is a huge critique on the democratic system, because obviously our way of democracy we are doing is not really able to handle all the problems and to present solutions. I'm quite sad about, because I devoted my life for democracy and development here. May say that's the first statement. It's necessary that the political landscape is doing more reality check. Sometimes listening what governments, what political parties are announcing, and so on and so on. Sometimes they are feeling they are outside of the reality. I think you can see it in these days here in Romania also. You have on the one side what is happening on the streets, seriously, and on the other side that the political landscape is not really able to react and to handle the problem and to make the proposals and to develop in the right direction. This situation I mentioned with globalization, crisis, and is right for politics, so far for Europe, but also for the media. Concerning globalization, I have to mention that Europe is facing another reality check, because we Europeans are altogether 7% of the global population, not more. And we are still convinced everything is happening or starting in Europe, with a little bit of the Americans aside, but this is a kind of Europe and so on, which I think is a huge error. I think the importance of Europe is diminishing, and it's not so clear that Europe as a whole, as we are understanding it now, is really existing. We have one chance. We are 20 to 25% of the economic power, but this is also going down, for sure. So far, are we able to handle our position as Europeans in the global context? Are we able, I think, to find the right answers or to handle it? On the other side, we have a certain development, and it came out, I think, in some panels. It is a desire, I think, for more regionalization, to feel at home in a closer context, where I'm able to overview everything, and I'm able to handle it, the whole world shall keep out. And it will not be the reality, and it's one of the jobs of the media, I think, to explain it quite clearly. It was an interesting statement that it is easier to live out as a regional media to get advertisement and to get some money and also to be read in this way. But this is a great challenge. It is a kind of mental regionalization. I think I don't know if it's in English same as we are saying in the German language, provincial. That means not only a local action, it means provincial in the view by the brain and by the way to judge the situation. But don't underestimate it. This is a feeling of a stronghold for the citizen. I think here I know what is around and I can keep my hands on and so on and so on. There is a general feeling that we are living in dangerous times. And I think this is creating some reactions, which is a great challenge for the media, I may say. It's not necessary to mention the refugee question, which is impressing Europe very much, but it is also a challenge for the media. I'm always telling my nice Austrian citizens, I think refugees are existing for years. Coming to Turkey, we are doing Frontex, a horrible expression by the European Union. We have Lampedusa and so on and so on. And everybody in my country was saying, that's far off. No? I think now we have the actuality and everybody is wondering that we are not prepared. I think even if you would have read some research results and so on, it was foreseeable. And I think we will for sure move forward and we are not able really to handle it. It's a real question for me, are the Europeans able to do a real crisis management? For me, born through the Second World War, I think afterwards, crisis management was very well done. I think I have my doubts if we are able to do it now in the same way as we were able to do it after 1945. So far, Europe is facing also the danger, or maybe somebody may say we can be happy about it, it will fall into pieces. I think for somebody who has engaged their whole life in European integration, it is a very bad analysis, but for sure it's happening. Or are we becoming a stronger Europe? That might be also. We have a disparate development. For sure, the nation state should be stronger, re-established, and so on and so on. These are the challenges existing by the different member states also. But on the other side, I think the banking crisis until now was handled, not solved, but was handled by the European Central Bank. We are getting more Europe, but everybody is announcing we need less Europe. That's one of the illogical phenomena which are for sure here existing. It is an open development. Will Europe fall into pieces or will it be stronger? The nation state or nationalism, even new nationalism, I think is only a very nice title for another development. We have a kind of old egoism. There's a beautiful saying in Vienna, everybody is considering him or herself, only me, I'm thinking on myself. I think that's a reaction which we have now, and I think it is a job of the media to create more connections, that we are touched by everything. What is happening there has an importance here for us, and so on and so on. And I don't want to make horror visions, but in reality, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are amidst the beginning of the Third World War. It's not the kind of world wars we had two. We are celebrating 100 years for the First World War and how the Second World War was done and so on and so on. The Third World War is creeping in our societies. It's creeping in the way what's happened in the railway station of Atocha, it's what's happening in the metro of London, what is happening with Charlie Hebdo, and so on and so on. You can continue it. And if we are not able to handle the refugee crisis, it might create a certain kind of World War III also. Cultural differences and so on and so on. That's a real question. And I think it has to be handled, not totally, but partly by the media also. It is an extreme challenge which is existing. Are we doing a dialogue about future or doing we confrontation? There's a very nice book at the beginning of the First World War where the governments were shown as sleepers. Are we sure that we are also not sleeping in the current moment? Okay, we are a little bit shocked by some things, but looking to the TV and reading in the newspapers or getting the messages by internet and so on and so on. But it's forgotten immediately. And what are really the reaction? I think the technique of forget things is really tremendously developed. It's a question of the medias. Are you contributing to forget the things? Are you contributing to keep the people awaked or awakening ongoing? It's not only your job, for sure, but I think you have to do a great contribution. So far, medias are also a medium for confrontation. Confrontation with the reality, for this reality check I named, which is for sure necessary. And for another movement, because somebody was mentioning media has something to do with the truth. Personally, I'm really convinced we need not only more distinction, I think we need maybe a new wave of enlightenment. And the enlightenment development in the past centuries was very much developed with the medias. I think you have to do a special job. I think you have to spread over enlightenment. And that's extremely important. Maybe that it is better understood. The necessity for enlightenment is starting for yourself and for your job, and for sure also for Europe and the medias. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thanks, Erhard. That's your partly also pessimist view, but maybe to make it more pessimist, one very short answer. Do you think that Europe will have in the future more borders? Will Schengen survive, or will have a different? Because you are a person with very much vision, so how you see it personally?
For a moment, we are working on more borders. I think you have some examples, Scotland, Catalonia, and so on and so on. And I think it was also a development which we very much welcomed in the past. Instead of Yugoslavia, we have more borders here and a lot of changes. But the real problem of the borders are not the borders on the maps. The real problem are the borders in the head and in the heart. And I think this we have to overcome, and it was the real content of my comment. I think medias are in charge of making a bridge of information, but also making a bridge for consideration and to overcome borders in a certain way. We need some borders more, I may say, to answer the question rightly. We need less borders. Everybody wants now borders and screens and whatever. Here, fences. We have a discussion about fences after the 20th century of Europe. Horrible. I think that we are discussing the fences 1 meter or 6 meters and so on and so on. But what we really have to discuss, how can we overcome these fences in a mutual understanding, solving the problems. And I think here we need other borders, where I say borders by values. I think we are really missing a value discussion. With a strange development, on the one side, I think we are living in a secularized world where values which were contributed in the past by religion have not anymore the importance, especially the former western part of Europe. On the other side, values are coming up in a strange religious way, which is not real religion. I think it's a real dangerous way. Even I read it in Austria in the interpretation of the happenings here in Bucharest. A black mass was celebrated there or whatever. I don't know if it's true, I don't believe it, but these things are coming up in a certain way. And it's a question of enlightenment. I want to repeat myself.
Thanks a lot, Erhard, and I think it's a very clear message also to colleagues. We are closing, so it's not a part for questions, I'm sorry. Maybe I would like now that we go according to agenda, so I would invite Her Excellency, Ms. Grätz-Löffler, to give her final word. Thanks.
Very much. To conclude this forum, I just wanted to thank you, the audience, the panelists, for supporting the forum with your participation. It was really fascinating to listen to you, and I learned a lot. Thank you so much for your contributions. I also wanted to thank the former Vice Chancellor of Austria, Dr. Erhard Busek, who honored this forum with his presence. And thank you for your concluding address. Thank you so much. Anyway, I think that journalism is an essential instrument for EU integration across the CEI region. On the one hand, I think citizens need to learn about the process of joining the European Union, its opportunities and also challenges. And on the other hand, the EU citizens need to understand and stay updated on the work of the very complicated EU institutions in order to be able to exercise their rights responsibly. So please, in your work, keep an eye on the work of the EU institutions in Brussels and inform your citizens correctly about what's going on in the, let's say, capital of Europe. I want to thank Christian Spar and Oliver Vujovic for convening this audience, and if we have a follow-up forum next year, CEI is on board, and I hope to see you very soon again. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Leffler. And as CEI is a long-year partner, I can just say we had always a very good cooperation, and I think it's for both sides. It means the journalists sitting here, and from our side, it means we are organizers here. Very important, I think, this exchange. So I would like to thank you for the support you are giving in the name of your organization. Now I would like to invite Marina, who will make her final words in the name of SEEMO Romania and her personal name.
I have only three thank you for coming, for listening, and for enjoying our craziness here. And I hope you will also enjoy Bucharest this evening, with demonstrations or not, but try to enjoy the city, because it's changing and you'll discover wonderful things. Thank you for coming again.
Thanks a lot, Marina. And finally, we have Mr. Christian Spar, who will also announce the next year forum. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you, Oliver. I found this forum very interesting in two aspects. First aspect is that quite often we discuss about media freedom, we discuss about ethical standards, and we discuss about new editorial concepts, but we don't discuss it in the economic context enough. I think this was done here, and it showed that all these topics are very strongly linked with economic foundations. Then a second aspect, of course, to have this highly topical political context right now in Romania, the Romanian people's struggle for more transparency and rule of law also gave this forum a very interesting and spicy context in the sense of the media topics. So in this sense, I'm very satisfied. Also, I think we had high quality speakers and discussions. And I think that this forum, founded many years ago by Oliver and his colleagues, could again increase its significance, its value for the journalistic community. And I hope it's not only the wishful thinking of one of the organizers. I would also like to thank CEI and SEEMO for this very good cooperation, and I'm happy to announce the venue and the potential date of the next forum, 2016. It will be most probably on the 3rd and 4th of November. You can note it in your calendars if you like, and it will be in Belgrade. thank you all for your attention, for your commitment to the topics, and have a good rest of your stay in Bucharest.
Thanks, Christian. Also, I would like to thank the Konrad Adenauer Foundation for partnership and as a very good partner in this event. SEEMO has a good cooperation with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation also in different other projects. So I can only say your office and you what you're doing in Sofia, you're really doing a great job. And I think the media, as I said some days ago, on another event, many foundations, many international organizations who are partners, who are giving support to media, left this part of Europe. Konrad Adenauer decided in this hard moment for many media projects to be present, to be more active. So I can only say thanks to Konrad Adenauer Foundation and to your work, what you are doing. I think it's really very important what you are doing. Thank everyone, and as Christian said, see you then very soon. It means exactly in 1 year in Belgrade. Who would like to be present, just contact our office, and you will be welcome to be our guest. Thank you.